Hello everyone, welcome to our channel, where we will bring you the most interesting and dramatic stories in life. It will take the audience from one surprise to another. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any episodes. In today's video, we will bring to you the story Ex-Lover. Please follow along. It had been a long time since Daniel had returned home to visit his mother. Thanks to that, Daniel learned that Maria's husband, whom Daniel had loved for all these years, had passed away a few months ago. So Maria was only 32 years old and already a widow, which must have been very sad. Maria was Daniel's first girlfriend. After being in love for nearly a year, their love was interrupted. Daniel knew that Maria's family did not agree because Daniel's family was poor. Daniel had to sadly break up with his first love in silence. Daniel tried to study hard, and then 16 years later, Daniel is now the deputy director of a company at the age of 35 and has his own house. But after all these years, Daniel's heart is still frozen and cold. To Daniel, Maria is everything. Maria devoted her innocent and pure life to Daniel during their love period. Both of them enjoyed the happiest moments of their love. Since Maria got married, Daniel knew that Maria had married a rich man, who was also the director of a company. So Maria was happy. Daniel felt happy when Maria was happy. So for many years Daniel did not contact Maria. Daniel saw that Maria was happy, so he did not want to affect Maria's happiness because of him. Looking at the clock, it was already 8 p.m. Holding the card with Maria's phone number that his mother had given him yesterday afternoon, Daniel kept thinking about it all day, wondering if he should call Maria or not. Then the love that Daniel had for Maria for so long finally won. Daniel picked up the phone and pressed the number. "Hello, this is Maria." Daniel's heart skipped a beat when he heard Maria's voice. "Hello, my little love." Maria's voice was happy because Maria knew that only Daniel called Maria that. "Is this you, Daniel?" "Daniel here. I just went home to visit my mother, and she told me the news about your husband. I'm calling to express my condolences." Thank you for calling." "You called just to offer your condolences?" Daniel's voice choked. "Forgot me," Maria said angrily. "If I forgot you, I wouldn't have lived alone for 16 years like this." "I'm sorry." Maria sounded remorseful. "I'm just mad at you. I gave my number to my mum a long time ago. Why are you only calling me now?" "No, I just found out the number when I visited my mother yesterday." "Really? Then I blamed you wrongly. How are you doing now? What are you doing and where are you?" Daniel said the address. "Oh, that place. What's the house number?" "Number 8. "So why do you ask?" Then Maria hung up. Hello, what's wrong?" Daniel muttered. "Why did you suddenly hang up?" Daniel called back, but no one picked up. Daniel felt sad and blamed himself. Why call Maria? Daniel went to take a shower. Just as he finished showering and was about to put on a robe to dry himself off before getting dressed, the doorbell rang repeatedly. "Who is it? Why are you ringing the bell so repeatedly?" Daniel muttered and opened the door. The door opened and Maria appeared before Daniel. Daniel's eyes widened in surprise. "Oh my God, is that you, Maria?" Daniel slapped himself to see if he was dreaming. Maria smiled. "It's me. You're not dreaming. Come in. How did you get there?" "I walk." "Gosh, where do you live that we can walk?" "I just bought a house nearby. I just found out that your house is here. Every time I go back to my hometown to visit my family, I want to ask your mother for your address, but I'm afraid." Daniel closed the door and followed Maria, his heart pounding. Maria, the person Daniel had loved so much for so many years, was now standing in front of Daniel. Maria looked as beautiful as ever, more mature and more attractive. Her hair was still long and silky black. Her mouth smiled charmingly. Her eyes were kind. Her voice was gentle. Her skin was rosy white, and her high heels were attractive under her shirt. Maria looked at Daniel and smiled softly. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Daniel smiled and walked closer to Maria. Daniel reached out and took Maria's hand. "My heart is pounding. After so many years apart, you suddenly appeared before my eyes like a dream." Maria leaned down and put her ear to Daniel's chest to listen to his heartbeat. "Let me hear." The sweet scent of Maria's hair wafted out. Daniel reached out and gently hugged Maria's head. Daniel pressed his nose against Maria's hair and took a deep breath. Maria's voice trembled. "Your heart is beating so fast. Does it miss me so much?" Maria looked up, her thin lips as if waiting. Daniel quickly bent down and pressed his lips against Maria's, rubbing them lightly. Maria closed her eyes and opened her mouth slightly to swallow Daniel's lips. Daniel quickly covered Maria's lips and kissed her gently. The saliva from Maria's mouth flowed into Daniel's sweet mouth. Daniel continued to do so passionately, sometimes making Maria unable to breathe, having to stop kissing and turn away to breathe, but after a few quick breaths, Daniel kissed Maria's lips again. The restless and ticklish feeling made Maria extremely ecstatic. Maria hugged Daniel's neck while Daniel used one hand to support Maria's shoulder. The other hand gently rubbed Maria's butt to use as a support, pressing the little guy that was saluting Daniel into Maria's golden triangle. Daniel kissed Maria's lips until he felt it was enough before leaving Maria's lips. Maria gently stroked Daniel's cheeks and smiled. "Your kiss was still as passionate as ever. It has made me remember it ever since." "Really?" After that sentence, Daniel kissed Maria's lips passionately. Maria also started to kiss Daniel back. Maria had taken the initiative, no longer depending on Daniel. Her two hands tightly held Maria's neck towards him. Daniel was dazed. Usually, when Daniel and Maria kissed, it was only Daniel who did it. Now, seeing Maria doing it, Daniel felt extremely agitated. The restless feeling from her lips ran down his spine, spreading intensely to Daniel's little guy, making it jerk. Daniel let his saliva flow out for Maria to swallow. Maria swallowed passionately and diligently, like a child swallowing ice cream, until she was full. They kissed in silence as if the whole world had stopped revolving around them. Daniel and Maria's kiss was initially shy, but after a few seconds it became more intense. His lips moved slowly over hers, then merged with hers, full of desire and longing. Maria closed her eyes, feeling the familiarity of that kiss, as if the years of separation had never existed. Daniel's hands gently slid along her back, pulling her closer, so that the distance between them was now only left with rapid breathing. "You're still the same," Daniel whispered in her ear, his voice like Marion, his warm breath fanning her neck, making her feel her skin burn. "I still remember every feeling we had." Maria opened her eyes to meet Daniel's longing gaze. Her heart skipped a beat when she heard those words. She couldn't deny that she still remembered clearly the times they had spent together, the long nights of lovemaking when they seemed to be lost in a world of just the two of them. "I still remember our first time in Dalat, in that old wooden room," Daniel said, his voice deep and warm, his lips lightly touching her neck. "You trembled in my arms, but then you gave me everything." Those memories flooded back to Maria's mind. That night in Dalat, when they had given each other the most pristine things, filling the void of youth with intense emotions. She clearly remembered his passionate gaze at that time and the warm feeling of the fur blanket when they lay next to each other after those passionate moments. Maria shivered slightly at the memory, and that feeling was now returning with every touch of Daniel. Daniel didn't stop. He took Maria's hand and pulled her up. "Come with me, Maria," he whispered. She didn't answer, just let herself be led by him. Each step carried a sense of familiarity. They entered Daniel's bedroom, where the silence of the space seemed to heighten the tension and anticipation. Maria entered the room, her eyes looking around. Everything was simple, but still warm, like Daniel. He turned the doorknob and turned back, his eyes not leaving her. They both knew what was coming, but neither of them was in a hurry. Daniel stepped closer, his arms wrapped around Maria's waist, and pulled her into his embrace. They kissed again, this time deeper, more intense, as if all the emotions that had been pent up for years were pouring out. His lips moved slowly from Daniel's lips to her neck. Each kiss made Maria feel like she was going back to the past years. She remembered clearly the times they had made love, the nights when they gave each other all their burning desires, without any restraint. "I remember you liked it here," Daniel whispered, his lips moving up to Maria's neck to place a lingering kiss. "And you always moaned softly when I did." Maria couldn't help it anymore. She let out a soft moan, feeling the familiarity of his touch. Every gesture, every movement reminded her of old memories, and she couldn't deny that she still craved them. Daniel's hands slid lightly over her waist, then slowly pulled her shirt off her body. Each button was undone slowly, with reverence. Maria felt her bare skin exposed to the cold air, but was immediately warmed by Daniel's body as he held her tighter. She closed her eyes slightly, letting herself indulge in the feeling she hadn't had in a long time. Everything that had happened between them, the passionate lovemaking, seemed to still be present somewhere in their every gesture. They fell on the bed together, their bodies intertwined as if they had never been apart. Maria felt Daniel's breath, every beat of his heart. He and she knew that this moment was theirs, a reunion of the intense emotions that had filled their youth. Daniel looked at Maria tenderly, his eyes following her every move, as if wanting to engrave this moment into her mind. Maria lay on her back, her eyes still not leaving Daniel, her lips trembling slightly as she felt his closeness. Her breathing became more rapid, not only because of the explosive emotions, but also because of the old memories flooding back, filling every corner of her soul. Tonight was not just the touching of bodies, but the revival of old memories, the moments they had lived and loved each other intensely. Daniel leaned down, his hands beginning to touch Maria's bare skin, each gesture both gentle and strong. His lips moved from her neck to her shoulders and stopped between her breasts, where each rapid breath could not hide the desire. "Remember," Daniel whispered, his voice breathy, slow and urgent. "The last time we were together you said I was your everything." Maria closed her eyes, letting his words sink in. She couldn't deny that the feeling was still there, even though time had passed and life had taken them on different paths. Her hands unconsciously tangled in Daniel's hair, pulling him closer, feeling his hot breath on her skin. "I remember, Daniel," she replied, her voice thick with emotion. "I remember everything about us." Daniel didn't say anything more. He just answered her by letting his lips and hands wander all over her body. Each touch was careful and loving, as if he was cherishing every moment with her again. Maria felt everything inside her melt. Every beat of her heart matched Daniel's rhythm, as if they had never been apart. They continued to guide each other through each familiar yet new gesture. In a way, Maria felt like she was back in the old nights, when they were young and their love was stronger than anything else. She remembered the times they spent together in Daniel's small, cramped room, the times they sneaked away and indulged in their feelings without worrying about the future. Each time it felt like the world was all they had, and now that feeling came flooding back more strongly than ever. Daniel leaned down close to her, his breath hot on her neck. His lips moved close to her ear as he whispered, "I never forgot you, Maria. Never." Maria couldn't hold back anymore. Her emotions exploded. She pulled him closer. Their lips found each other, merging in a long, passionate kiss. The years of separation seemed to disappear, leaving only the present, where they found what they had lost. Daniel slowly explored every corner of Maria's body, like a familiar song that he had used many times. Each melody, each note, everything became complete under his guidance. "I still remember everything about you," Daniel whispered in her ear, his voice filled with affection. "I remember the times we sneaked away, every kiss, every passionate lovemaking. I always longed to see you again, to be able to love you once more." Maria couldn't speak, only responding with gentle touches, gestures that seemed to say she had never forgotten him either. "I'll never forget the times we spent together," Maria whispered, her voice breaking with each breath. "Every time I felt like I belonged to you." Daniel looked deep into her eyes, his gaze filled with love and longing. "Then don't let us be apart again. I want you like the old days, but this time forever." Daniel's words made Maria's heart burst. For years she had tried to forget this feeling, but now she knew she couldn't. Maria responded with a deep kiss, her lips finding his with all the emotions that had been pent up for so long. She let herself be carried away by this feeling, no longer afraid or hesitant. They were entwined in a dance of ecstasy. Old memories flooded back, but this time with a new meaning. No more haste, no more days of hiding. Now they only had each other and the most genuine emotions. As their bodies merged completely, Maria felt the deep connection between them. All worries, all distances seemed to disappear, leaving only a feeling of peace and ecstasy. Daniel slowly whispered sweet words in her ear, each word weaving a picture of the past and present merging into one. The two lay side by side, hand in hand, quietly feeling each other's breath. The night outside covered the room, leaving only silence and the rhythmic beats of their hearts. Maria turned to look at Daniel, her eyes shining with Mariai's heart and peace. For the first time in so many years, she felt like she had found the missing piece of her life. Daniel leaned down and placed a light kiss on her forehead. "We will never be apart again, my dear." Maria smiled slightly when she heard Daniel's words, a gentle but emotional smile. She didn't need to answer because in that moment their eyes and gestures said it all. Daniel pulled Maria closer. His arms were strong and warm, as if he wanted to protect her from all the pain and loneliness they had experienced. The space in the room gradually became quieter. Only the steady breathing of the two people echoed in the quiet night. They didn't need to say anything more because their emotions had become so clear. Their love after so many years was still there, intact and complete as the first day. Maria lay close to Daniel, feeling each beat of his heart beating steadily in her ears, like a song lulling her to a peaceful sleep. In Daniel's arms, Maria felt protected and loved, as if there had never been any distance between them. Old memories and familiar feelings from their youth seemed to return completely tonight. She exhaled softly, her arms wrapped around Daniel's waist, hugging him tightly, as if she didn't want to let go anymore. Daniel gently stroked Maria's hair, whispering sweet words in her ear. "I've waited for this day for so long, you know. As long as I have you, everything becomes perfect." Maria just nodded slightly, her eyes closed as she felt peace gradually envelop her. She had found the one she loved, and in this moment she knew that she was no longer alone. And so their sublime moments lasted for more than 2 hours before reaching their climax. When they were done, they lay there together in the warm and gentle embrace of love, feeling each passing moment like a beautiful dream. The night outside gradually deepened, but in the room their hearts had found each other, and all that remained was a quiet peace. Daniel gently pulled the blanket over both of them and hugged Maria, his arms tight, like a promise that from now on they would never lose each other again. Maria sighed softly and slowly fell asleep, her lips still smiling. They just hugged each other, feeling the warmth and peace from the other, and then both of them fell into a deep, peaceful sleep without realizing it. When Daniel woke up, it was already morning. Daniel could no longer see Maria. Daniel lightly slapped his face and muttered, "Am I dreaming?" But then Daniel realized that it was real because Daniel saw a piece of paper on his chest. Daniel picked up the paper and read, "You're still the same as before. When you're done, you fall asleep. But this time, I'm not angry with you. Thank you for making me climax. I'll come to you again when you need me. Don't look for me. I will always be your little lover. Kiss you, kiss your giant Marianne too." Daniel smiled to himself. From then on, Maria Marianne came to Daniel regularly. Maria confided in Daniel that Maria just wanted to be Daniel's little lover and wanted Daniel to get married. But Daniel refused. Daniel said that he had waited for her for 16 years, and now, if conditions did not allow us to get married, he would still wait until she was his wife. Maria was very happy to have a loyal person like Daniel. That made Maria Marianne come regularly to take care of him and give Daniel satisfying sex times. Maria wanted to repay Daniel for the years that Marianne had devoted her whole heart to her, and from then on, the relationship between Daniel and Maria has moved to a new stage. No longer the awkward distance as when they first met again. Both feel a deep connection from the past, but also have to face the more complicated realities of their current lives. Maria is still in mourning for her husband, and that makes her feel conflicted inside. Even though her husband has been gone for almost a year, she still cannot completely escape the feeling of being bound and responsible as a wife to society and family. However, her feelings for Daniel are so strong that she cannot deny it. Maria feels like she is walking on a knife's edge, wanting to live with her true feelings, but also afraid of being judged by others. Meanwhile, Daniel always showed patience and care. He knew Maria needed time, but he also could not hide his desire to be with her more, to officially become a couple. Daniel had kept those feelings in his heart for many years, and now that he had a second chance, he did not want to miss it. Their relationship began to be hidden. Every time they met, it was a secretive moment. They met at Daniel's house or in secret places where no one could see them together. They both knew that this could not last. But in the beginning, it was like a way to protect the relationship that was still too fragile. One afternoon, when Maria was on her way home after stopping by Daniel's house, she suddenly received a call from her ex-husband's sister, a strict woman who paid close attention to social gossip. During the conversation, she not only asked about Maria's current life, but also hinted that someone had recently seen Maria with a strange man. Maria's heart pounded. She knew that the matter between her and Daniel was probably gradually being noticed. That call made Maria worried. She knew that if the matter between her and Daniel was exposed too soon, it could cause a lot of gossip, even affecting the reputation of her ex-husband's family. Maria felt tense, and her relationship with Daniel began to face a series of new challenges. She had to make a decision, whether to make this relationship public or choose to continue to be silent and avoid all attention. Meanwhile, Daniel, though patient, was growing tired of the secrecy. He wanted their relationship to be acknowledged, not only because of their love, but also because he wanted to protect Maria from the pressures and scrutiny. One night, Daniel decided to have a frank talk with Maria. "We can't go on like this, Maria," Daniel said, his eyes fixed on hers with determination. "I don't want you to suffer the gossip, but we can't live in the dark forever." Maria was silent. She knew what Daniel said was true, but the worry of what people would think still made her hesitate. "I know," she sighed softly, "but I can't let my ex-husband's family down. They still consider me a part of the family." But you can't live for others forever, Maria, Daniel replied, his voice tinged with anger and disappointment. You've spent your whole life taking care of them. Now you have to think about yourself too. I don't want to lose you again because of meaningless rules. The conversation ended with mixed emotions. Maria felt at a crossroads, having to choose between continuing to defend the honor of her ex-husband and his family, or being true to her feelings and love for Daniel. Tension was building in their relationship, and they both knew that this situation could not last much longer. Things came to a head one evening when Maria was discovered by her ex-husband's sister to have been visiting Daniel's house multiple times. The news quickly spread throughout the family, and Maria felt like she was being pushed into a corner. Her ex-husband's family began to distance themselves from her, considering her a traitor even though her husband was dead. Maria returned home in a state of confusion, not knowing how to face Daniel. But when she walked in, Daniel was waiting for her, his eyes filled with determination. Maria, we will get through this. You don't have to live by anyone's standards. You deserve to be happy. In that moment, Maria realized that she couldn't live in fear and worry about judgment forever. She needed to face reality and decide where she wanted to go. With newfound courage, she hugged Daniel tightly, deciding that this time she would fight for her happiness, for the love she deserved. After years of suppressing their feelings, their relationship is now not only a reunion of two hearts that once loved each other, but also a struggle to overcome all obstacles and social prejudices. Challenges still lie ahead, but with love and determination, Daniel and Maria believe that they will face it all together. No more hiding or hiding. But Maria's life after being discovered by her ex-husband's family seemed to be turned upside down. Judgments quickly spread throughout the family and friends. Everything she had built since her husband's death gradually disappeared without the respect or compassion they once had for her. The contemptuous looks and gossip about her relationship with Daniel were like knives stabbing deep into Maria's self-esteem. She felt like she was walking on a thin line, just one wrong step and everything would collapse. One evening, when Maria had just returned home after a tiring day, her ex-husband's sister suddenly appeared at her door, her face full of anger and resentment, as if she no longer had any feelings for her ex-sister-in-law. "I came here to talk," she said, her voice cold. "What do you think you are doing, Maria? Do you know how you have disgraced the family?" Maria stood still, her throat dry. She had been prepared for this, but when faced with it, all the words became blurred. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just wanted to be honest with my feelings." Live true to your feelings? Have you thought about your husband's feelings? About the feelings of this family? She growled. He just passed away not long ago, and you're already rushing into the arms of another man. People are talking about you everywhere, saying you're nothing more than a traitor. Maria felt her heart constrict, the words cutting deep into her, making her feel smaller and more guilty than ever. But then she remembered Daniel's words, remembered that she couldn't live her life pleasing Maria. "You don't understand," Maria said, her voice shaking but determined. "I've lived in pain for years. I never betrayed him. I cared for him until the end, but now he's gone, and I have the right to be happy." But her ex-husband's sister wouldn't listen. "You have no right to disgrace the family. If you continue your relationship with that man, you will no longer be a part of this family. We will cut all ties with you. Think carefully, Maria." She turned and walked away, leaving Maria standing there, lost in the silent house. She felt like the world had collapsed, everything that had been pent up inside her for so long now bursting out. She sat on the floor, her mind in turmoil, her sister-in-law's words echoing in her mind. But deep down, she knew she couldn't live under someone else's control forever. That evening, Maria called Daniel, her voice weak but determined. She told him everything, the pressures, the judgment she was facing. Daniel listened in silence, and when Maria stopped talking, he replied in a firm voice, "We will not hide any more, Maria. I have waited for you for so long, and now I will not let you suffer any more. We will face it together." Maria was silent at Daniel's words. She knew he was determined, and her heart gradually grew stronger. That night, they decided to go public with their relationship, facing all public opinion and prejudice. But things were not easy. When Maria and Daniel began to appear together, the gossip became even harsher. They were harshly condemned by her ex-husband's family, and even many of Maria's friends turned their backs on her, thinking that she had betrayed her husband too soon. Maria felt the pressure on her shoulders, but she always had Daniel by her side to support and encourage her. He never let her face anything alone. Things came to a head one evening when Maria and Daniel were having dinner at a Mariang house, when an old friend of Maria's from when she lived with her husband suddenly appeared. She looked at them with judgmental eyes and did not hesitate to approach. "You really disappoint me," the friend said, not bothering to keep her voice down. "Your husband has just died, and you have already forgotten him and thrown yourself into the arms of another. What a shame!" Everyone in the Mariang household started to turn to look at Maria, feeling the scrutinizing eyes on her. Her throat tightened. Her heart felt like it was about to explode. She wanted to run away, but Daniel grabbed her hand to hold her back. He stood up and faced the other friend, his eyes filled with determination and coldness. "You have no right to judge Maria," Daniel said, his voice firm, enough for the entire Mariang household to hear. "She has sacrificed so much for her husband and his family, and now she deserves to be happy. I will not let anyone hurt her anymore, whether by words or actions." The other friend was a bit stunned by Daniel's determination, unable to say another word, just looked at them for a moment and then left. But Maria still felt the eyes around her following her. She trembled, but Daniel was still beside her, holding her hand tightly as a confirmation that he would never leave her, no matter what happened. After that incident, Maria and Daniel decided not to hide or be afraid anymore. They started living openly, facing all the storms together. Maria's ex-husband's family continued to condemn them, and many close people no longer kept in touch. But whenever Maria felt weak, Daniel was always there, steadfast as a rock in the midst of a turbulent flow. As time passed, the gossip gradually died down. Although their relationship was initially judged by many people, gradually the people around them accepted that Maria and Daniel truly loved each other and deserved to be happy. They overcame all prejudices and social pressures to finally be able to live true to their love. The days after Maria and Daniel decided to go public with their relationship were a stressful ordeal. Maria's ex-husband's family almost immediately cut off contact with her. People in the village where Maria had lived with her husband began to gossip about her, not hesitating to make harsh judgments. Maria herself had sacrificed a lot for her husband's family when he was alive, but now all she received in return were contemptuous looks and harsh words. On the mornings when Maria went to the market to buy food, the villagers began to look at her with malicious eyes. There were times when she heard whispers behind her back, sometimes even mocking laughter. "Your husband just died, and you're already having an affair with another man," a middle-aged woman whispered, but loud enough for Maria to hear. What a shameless woman. Each time, Maria felt her heart suffocate. She returned home, trying not to let those words get her down, but the painful feeling of shame overwhelmed her. There were times when Maria wondered if she was wrong to decide to be true to her feelings, to dare to step outside the rules that society imposed on women. But then every time she met Daniel, his kind eyes and encouraging words helped her feel stronger. One evening, after being coldly looked at by an old acquaintance as she passed by, Maria returned home in a state of confusion. She sat on the bed, staring into space, her mind filled with conflicting thoughts. She felt like she was stuck between the past and the present, between her responsibility to her ex-husband's family and her own feelings. Suddenly the phone rang. It was Daniel. "How are you?" His deep voice rang from the other end of the line. Maria hesitated. "Someone talked about you today. They said that you betrayed your husband. He just passed away not long ago, and you already—" Daniel's voice suddenly became resolute. "Maria, you don't need to hear those words. They don't understand what you've been through. You've lived your whole life for others. Now it's time for you to live for yourself." Maria was silent, tears welling up in her eyes. She knew Daniel was right, but the pressures from society and family still weighed heavily on her mind. "I'll be there soon," Daniel said, interrupting Maria's thoughts. "We'll face everything together." Minutes later, Daniel was at Maria's house. He didn't say much, just sat down next to her, his hands clasped tightly in hers, as a promise that no matter what happened, he would always be there for her. "We'll get through this together, Maria," Daniel said, his voice firm. "I know you're worried, but I won't let anyone hurt you again." Maria leaned into Daniel, her eyes brimming with tears. In his arms, she felt the safety and peace she had longed for. They sat together in silence, only their soft breathing intertwined, a promise that their love would be strong enough to weather any storm. But the real storm was just beginning. Not long after, an unexpected event occurred. Maria's ex-husband's family, after hearing rumors that she and Daniel were having an affair, decided to file a lawsuit against Maria, demanding that she return part of the property left by her husband. They believed that she had taken advantage of her widowhood to seize the family's assets, and that her affair with Daniel was just proof that she was no longer worthy of the trust her family had previously placed in her. Maria was stunned when she received this notice. She had never thought that her ex-husband's family could be so heartless. The property they were demanding back included the house where Maria was living. This was not only a huge shock to her, but also a warning that things could get much worse if she did not take action. When Daniel heard this news, he was so angry that he could not control himself. "Who do they think they are to treat me like this? They have no right to do this," he growled. Maria tried to keep her composure despite her sadness. "I didn't want things to go this far, Daniel. I just want to live in peace." "Peace," Daniel interrupted, his eyes burning with anger. "I did everything for their family. I sacrificed so many years of my youth, and now they betrayed me like this. I deserve to live a dignified life, not hide or be afraid." The two decided to ask a lawyer to intervene. The process of resolving the dispute was long and stressful. Maria had to face many court cases. Each time she appeared, the public stared at her with prejudiced eyes. However, Daniel never left her side. He was always by her side to support her mentally and physically, determined to fight to the end. The final trial ended in Maria's victory. The court ruled that she was entitled to the house and assets left by her ex-husband, because she had contributed significantly to the maintenance and growth of the assets during the marriage. However, this victory did not lessen the bitterness Maria felt. In that moment, she realized that happiness does not come from owning property or winning a legal battle. True happiness comes from having the freedom to live according to what you believe and feel is right. She turned to look at Daniel, who had been by her side all this time, always protecting and loving her unconditionally. "What do you think about all this?" Maria asked softly as they left the courthouse. Daniel took her hand, his eyes gentle but determined. "I think we've been through enough. Now it's time for us to start over, live for ourselves and not care about what others think." Maria nodded slightly, her heart filled with peace and determination. From now on, they would no longer have to hide or fear. Our story today will stop here. If you find this story interesting, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment about your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next interesting stories. Each like, a share button, and a subscription from you will be the motivation for Jane and the program production team to create more interesting videos. And now, goodbye, see you in the next videos. Wish you a wonderful day.